Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Living in Palm Coast channel. All right, today I've got a video that I pulled off that is from a real estate analyst that talks about the what's going on in the real estate market today. His name's Graham Stephan, and he has some thoughts about what's going on in the U.S. real estate market. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on here in the Palm Coast home market, and we're also going to look at some specific neighborhoods on the map, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on there as well. So stay tuned, and we're going to do that right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Palm Coast channel. And this channel is really all about what it's like to live, work, play, and retire in Palm Coast. So what we're going to do is go over the overall housing market. I'm going to show you a video of one of the people who is sort of an analyst in the industry, and we're going to talk a little bit about this channel. Really is all about what it's like to live in Palm Coast, St. Augustine, Ormond Beach, this northeast area of Florida. And maybe you're contemplating a move to Florida and you don't really know which area of Florida you want to be in. So you're out doing your research and getting on YouTube, for example, and looking at different videos of different areas. If you're sitting up in Pennsylvania or possibly even Minnesota, where I came from, and you're thinking about moving to particular areas of the state. For example, you have your Gulf side, you have the Atlantic side, and you can't visit all of these places. So what you're trying to do probably is trying to narrow your selection, I guess, as to what you can go look at, physically go figure out if this is a place, or wherever you're deciding to move to is the place that you want to relocate to. And that's the kind of information we're going to try to give in these videos coming up. We have 60 videos on this channel covering all kinds of stuff, but we're going to get on track, and we're going to start producing, going over some of the older videos that we did and kind of updating those, revisiting some of the areas, really a lot of the areas around Palm Coast, to give you an updated view of what's going on. There's some other things happening here in Palm Coast. Obviously, a lot of building is happening, and that's been a lot of the inventory increases here in Palm Coast, is just the amount of development that's going on. And also we're going to talk a little bit about some of the builder incentives that are taking place. Now, about 9 months ago, builders really weren't giving a whole lot of incentives. Now they're buying down interest rates on mortgages. They're paying for closing costs. They're doing all kinds of things to try to incentivize things. And show you a quick video of a guy by the name of Graham Stephan, and he's kind of known around the country as being kind of an expert on the real estate market. But I'm going to show you a little bit about what he has to say about the market, and come right back to it.
Previous downturns, because this is where things get incredibly surprising. One of the first major real estate crashes that we should talk about happened in the year of 1929. Just when the stock market peaked from record high speculation and borrowed money, the real estate market fell alongside with everything else, and historically, this was the worst real estate crash in history. Home values plummeted by nearly 67%, and it took almost 3 decades for those prices to return to pre-crash levels. Then again, from there, real estate encountered a lot more difficulty in the 1990s. Until that point, the real estate market had seen a huge increase from new lending options, inflation, and a growing population. But the savings and loan crisis caused interest rates to rise, new home construction dropped, and home prices remained fairly flat until 1997. And now we have the most recent one that most of us can remember, and that would be the housing crash of 2008. This was caused by too many people speculating on the value of real estate.
Now, I want to tell you real quickly, too, that, back in 2008, Palm Coast took a big hit in the housing market. And, it took quite a few years to recover from that. And so what I would say about Palm Coast is that they've been a lot more deliberate about their housing and their building up of housing. And so prices here have remained fairly steady. They've adjusted downwards a little bit. But anyway, here's more of, Graham.
Fueled by easy money and short-term adjustable rate mortgages that allowed anybody to get a loan if they could just make the introductory payments. However, most of these mortgages had what's called a balloon payment built in, which meant that there was a big lump sum that was due in a few years from when you originally took out the loan. And that, of course, led to a complete disaster. Depending on the location, home prices fell anywhere between 30 to 62%. A bailout was put in place, and now again in 2023, we're back at all-time highs. However, the most surprising part from all of this is that besides 1929 and 2008, for the most part, home prices have been fairly resilient. Like during and after World War II in the 1940s, home prices and construction boomed from a surge of demand. During the 1970s stagflation era, while stock prices were going down, home prices were going up due to inflation. During the 1980s recession, home prices saw 4.5% increase as inflation stayed high. The 1990s saw some markets drop, but even the hardest hit markets didn't see a decline of more than 10%. Even the dot-com bubble of 2001 had very little impact in the housing market, because even as stocks fell, interest rates also fell alongside with it, causing home sales to climb to a brand new record high. Although today we certainly have some different challenges that will directly affect the real estate market, and these are a few of the obstacles that stand in the way. First, let's begin with Wells Fargo's warning that the housing market is headed back to a 1980s-style recession, because it's probably not what you're expecting. This all occurred after President Nixon removed the United States from the gold standard, which eventually led to runaway inflation. So as a way to combat that, strict policies were put in place and interest rates were increased as high as 20% to prevent prices from skyrocketing even higher. Although, as you would expect, that caused prices to come crashing down. However, even though Wells Fargo believes that we could wind up seeing a similar 1980s-style housing recession, to them that doesn't mean necessarily lower prices. In fact, they see it the opposite. Because fewer sellers are listing their homes, Wells Fargo went on record to say that home prices will continue to appreciate at a slightly slower pace because of underlying demand and tight supply, rising 1.8% by the end of the year and 2.5% in 2024. In 2025, Wells Fargo forecasts that home prices will rise by 4.4%.
So that's interesting because that's kind of exactly what's happening here in Palm Coast. You know, we had a high price about a year or so ago in the end of 2021, where the housing prices here were about nearly 400,000, which is still, I think, was below the national average. But now they've come down where our median home price is right around 353,000 is the last time I looked.
How on earth is this even possible? Supply and demand, because there is very low supply, but also fall below 7% in the second half of 2024. However, in fairness, the critics of this say that none of these associations correctly predicted the interest rate increases that we saw throughout 2023, nor did they anticipate that home prices would rise as much as they did. So basically, their guess is just as good as anybody else's. Of course, the downside to all of this is that it seems as though regardless of who you ask, there's almost a unanimous agreement that home prices are not likely to meaningfully fall, at least until home sellers outnumber buyers, which at this point is unlikely to happen anytime soon. Essentially, what we're seeing right now is an almost perfect equilibrium of supply and demand, because there is very low supply, but also very low demand. So prices really don't have anywhere to go but sideways.
You know, I'm a little skeptical any of those types of claims that anybody claims that interest rates are going to come down, or what the Fed is going to do, or what inflation is going to do, for that matter. So to me, that just kind of confuses things as far as a home buyer is concerned. You know, either you're ready to move, you can afford it, it's within your budget, maybe you're an all-cash buyer and interest rates really don't matter to you, which we're having a lot of more cash buyers come in to the market now. Anyway, I'm not really a fan of trying to say any kind of predictions on this channel, because I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think the Federal Reserve knows what they're going to be doing with interest rates next year, because I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen with the economy, with inflation, or anything else like that. So if you're basing your decision based on what's going to happen or what the so-called experts think are going to happen, I don't know if that's such a good idea. You know, home prices here in Palm Coast have come down a little bit. They're from their peak of almost 400,000. The median price, like I said, is right now is around 353,000. And a lot of the builders right now, like I said, are offering a lot of incentives. We just recently sold a house to a wonderful lady who was moving here from, I believe, Kentucky, and she couldn't believe what kind of deal she got from the builder. The builder paid all of her closing costs. I think paid down a little bit of her mortgage rate, and so she, being a single mother, and was moving down from out of state, she felt as though she got a really good deal, and I think she did too. So I thought that was what's happening, gives you a little bit of perspective. Some of the other things I wanted to touch on too was that there are some new developments popping up. We work really closely with the builders, so a lot of times the builders will kind of get a little bit of an inside scoop as to what kinds of properties are coming available, and so that's always helpful. Again, if you need any assistance or you're looking at possibly buying something or want to just talk to us a little bit about what's going on here in Palm Coast, just give us a call, shoot us a text. We'd be happy to visit with you. I've got me and Val, who are part of the Palm Coast team here, and she's out in the field right now working with one of our clients, and but she is terrific, and give either one of us a call if you have any questions about Palm Coast. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to kind of unconfuse a little bit about, get on the map here, and we're going to talk a little bit about how Palm Coast is laid out. All right, so here we are. I'm gonna just move out here a little bit and see if we can show you. All right, now here's Flagler County. Now, as you'll notice though, that Flagler County is, we got Jacksonville here, up here, we've got St. Augustine, we've got Palm Coast, and then Flagler County. And Flagler County is probably one of the more less densely populated counties all along the eastern coast here. If you look at, as you get down into Palm Bay, Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, this is all really heavily populated. And the nice thing I think about Palm Coast is that we are kind of away from all of the major population centers. There's pluses and minuses about being in a city that's kind of out by itself, like Palm Coast is. We're about an hour and a half from Orlando. To get to the airports, it takes about an hour and a half. We're about 45 minutes or so north of Daytona. The nice thing about being in Palm Coast is that we have St. Augustine, which is kind of a little sister city of ours. It's about a little less than half the size, or a little more than half the size of Palm Coast as far as population goes. But St. Augustine, being the oldest city in the country, has a lot of tourists, but it also has a lot of really good entertainment as far as restaurants and things like that go. So you're going to have, even though it's a smaller city, you're going to have a lot more dining choices and entertainment choices up there. Palm Coast, we don't have as many dining choices as you would see probably in a busy touristy type of city. A lot of our restaurants are kind of mom and pop, and the ones that we do have are really good, but we just don't have a lot of them. So, all right. So, one of the things that people ask us about is, why is Palm Coast so confusing? Well, it is a little confusing because it's not laid out on a grid. So if you go down into the neighborhood level, we are we are laid out like kind of like a planned development almost, but we're not on a grid system, which most cities are. So when you get into these neighborhoods, you know, you're just meandering, kind of meandering all over. You got to take your GPS, take your phone with you so you can see how to get in and out, because it can be like a maze sometimes getting in and out of these neighborhoods. But from the south here we have two, and we're going to be doing some videos about these areas. You've got Halifax Plantation and Plantation Bay, and these are two really large communities. And then you've got Flagler Beach is right over here, and then you'll come up and we have our executive airport, and then down along this area here, down along Highway 100, which is right down here, is most of our shopping. And so we have kind of shopping on the south side of our city, and then we have golf courses kind of all over. But then if you go up here, we have kind of shopping here. So this is kind of, we don't have you know, a real downtown. At some point in time, I think the city planners thought that you know, we would have, this is town center, so this is kind of, this was designated as being sort of our downtown, and you know, it's just taken a little bit longer to fill out than probably what they expected, but they are making progress. Apartments and retail are going in to this area. So if we and then and then also we have our canal section, which I think is a fantastic feature of Palm Coast, is to have an area where we have you know, you're able to have your boat in your backyard and then go out to the Intercoastal Waterway. This is the Intercoastal Waterway. It's our beautiful Intercoastal Waterway that people love to go and boat on. And then of course over here, to kind of explain, this is the hammock. This is what they call the hammock, and this is the Intercoastal Waterways here, and then all of this is Hammock Dunes, and that was the original development here in the hammock. And I wanted to show you one last thing, and this is a map we provide to all of our customers, you know, to anybody really. I'm going to put it in the description box, but basically this has kind of the sections. We're kind of divided up here in Palm Coast into sections, and so we developed a map here to kind of, if you click on any of these, it'll kind of give you a description of what it's all about, and hopefully that's a little helpful. We broke it down into these areas. For example, like the C and the F section is the 20, you know, has the neighborhood is this is our canal area. So we're going to be putting this map in. We'll put this map in the description box so that you'll have it, and hopefully it will make make Palm Coast a little less confusing. All right, so anyway, those are some of the things I wanted to touch on today. In today's video, we are going to be going out on the road. We're going to be looking at a number of different new and different communities. So make sure you subscribe, and you know, if you're interested in checking out this area, we'd be happy to visit with you. Give me or Val a call. Val does a lot of our client work, and she would be happy to visit with you about the different areas. I as well would be happy to visit with you. And until next time, we'll see you later.